In today's day and age, modern-day heroes take many forms throughout different media. Some of these are so iconic that they become household names throughout the entire world, such as heroes that sprung from the pages of comics, like Superman, Batman, Spider-Man, Wonder Woman, to the rise of the classic silver screen heroes such as James Bond, Indiana Jones, Luke Skywalker, and to the ultimate badass like Ellen Ripley.
Get away from her, you bitch!
Of course, these are only to name a few, but what all these characters have in common throughout all their collective fan bases are at least three things. 1. They're all integral to their respective franchises. 2. They inspire us in different ways. And 3. They're incredibly beloved throughout the entire world. Now, of course, as you may have noticed, these characters that I've named so far are all iconic in the world of comics and films. But what if I told you that there is one character that is the ultimate conglomerate of all these iconic heroes? One that is not bound to the pages of comics or the silver screen, but that of video games. Ah, yes. A smooth-talking space agent with superpowers and a penchant for adventure. Someone who's willing to do anything and everything to save the day. Someone who's not bound to be either man or woman, but equally iconic nonetheless. Of whom do I speak? Well, take it away, Miracle of Sound.
You can fight like a Krogan, run like a leopard, but you never be better than Commander Shepard.
How's it going, guys? MrHulthen here, and today we're gonna dive into the topic of whether Shepard will return for the next Mass Effect, but with a twist. You see, so far we've talked about several different scenarios of how the commander could be brought back for our next adventure, such as the frozen Shepard theory, which poses that the commander is found in a completely frozen state back on Earth after the Reapers have been defeated, a la Captain America. There's the control ending and whether that could be canon, in which case Shepard would be an AI overlord who uses the Reapers to defend the Milky Way galaxy. There's all kinds of theories that are popping up that try to explain a reason to why Shepard could return for the next Mass Effect. But when you really think about it, isn't it really strange how many fans want Shepard to come back? I mean, there's numerous franchises that go on with having their main character sacrifice their lives at the end of their respective arcs. So why couldn't Mass Effect? And why are so many of us just grasping at straws to find a reason? Any reason to get Mark Meer and Jennifer Hale back in the recording booth? Well, it's kind of simple, but at the same time it's not. As you may have understood by now, Shepard doesn't just share a bunch of aspects with the classic heroes that I mentioned before. There is of course a deeper reason to why Shepard resonates to such a degree with the fans of Mass Effect. So let's look back at the beginnings, to when Shepard hadn't even risen to the ranks of Commander yet. Heck, let's jump back to the character creation screen because this is the first time we meet with Shepard, through shaping the basic looks of him or her with varying skin colors and facial features. The entire process of creating Shepard's face gives the player a type of ownership over their character, and perhaps some fans even manage to create a likeness to themselves in Shepard. Now perhaps the entire motivations for the fandom's yearnings for Shepard to return could be boiled down to that we just want to play as a character that we know. And well, that's one part of the reason, but let's go deeper. In Mass Effect Andromeda, we take the reins of one of the Ryder twins. And as most of you guys know, Ryder was panned by the majority of both old and new fans. Now sure, I absolutely understand that some of you guys liked Ryder's character, but fact remains that compared to Shepard, Ryder just felt like a character without any real grit, no matter what dialogue you chose during your conversations in Mass Effect Andromeda. Which also brings me to another important note. When you compare Shepard to Ryder, it's quite obvious that Shepard had the upper hand when it comes to character development. And a simple reason for this is that Shepard had 3 games of build-up, whereas Ryder just had 1. Then there's also the fact that the writing for the original trilogy was just better overall. And this would kind of make it difficult for any new protagonist that would have to take Shepard's place, because the original main character would be the one that everyone new gets compared to. This is of course another huge reason to why fans want to see Shepard return in some form. It's simply because they don't want to play as Ryder again, or get introduced to someone new that they risk disliking. But there's of course more. Commander Shepard is not just a vehicle for us players to explore the galaxy with. From the beginning of Mass Effect 1, it's clear that Shepard's journey is that of sacrifice and doing the right thing, no matter the cost. Sure, Shepard can be played as either a violent renegade or a honorable paragon, but the outline in Shepard's mind is always the same: to save the galaxy and its people from the Reapers. This can sometimes mean having to sacrifice someone for the greater good, and perhaps sometimes even entire planets and solar systems. It's also reflected in Shepard's overall dialogue and actions. Many times throughout the trilogy, you'll get presented with dialogue options that suggests Shepard's internal thinking. And just like most RPGs out there, the dialogue itself is usually deeper than what the dialogue choice represents, wherein Shepard elaborates on your choice. And through all three games, what we first perceive to be only a vehicle for the player evolves into a fully fledged character with his or her own wants and motivations. Because of the overall well-written dialogue, coupled with the amazing voice acting of Jennifer Hale and Mark Meer, we're seeing the evolution of Shepard from one game to the next. The choices we make rests heavily on Shepard's shoulders, and we see how the commander changes in the shape of how the story is progressing. And at the end of the third game, Shepard isn't just the commander anymore. We can even see as much during the dream sequences in Mass Effect 3, where Shepard keeps having nightmares about the impending doom of the galaxy. Shepard is someone we've grown to love, just like we've grown to care about Tali, Garrus, Liara, Rex, and every other squad mate on the Normandy. And to make this even more hard-hitting, Shepard may find him or herself hopelessly in love with one of the crewmates. Be that Liara, Tali, or Garrus, seeing Shepard show romantic feelings toward crewmates of your choice just deepens the bond you have with Shepard. It has been stated many times that Shepard was just supposed to be a vehicle for the player, but as we see from this breakdown, nothing can be further from the truth. However, what is true is that Shepard is especially meaningful as a character because of his or her connections with the other squadmates. And that's also why it's so very difficult to motivate a good reason to why Shepard should return at all. Because what is Shepard without the crew? As I've talked about in other videos, like this one, bringing back the squad of old would be a difficult task. You see, if we go by current predictions, hints point us towards the next game being set at least a couple of 100 years into the future. This would mean that several of our old squad mates would be gone, simply because their lifespans are generally not that long. So that begs the ultimate question: would you really want Shepard to come back if it means that all your old friends are gone? Of course, it's not impossible for Shepard to rebuild parts of the old squad if, say, Rex, Grunt, and Liara are still alive, because of their long lifespans. But that meaningful romance he had with Garrus, with Tali, it would all be but a memory. But hey, perhaps I'm getting way ahead of myself. It's still in the realms of possibility that the next game picks up just after the end of the Reaper War, in which case, we'd all be good. Because I really doubt that anyone would really protest if that was the case. Well, unless you're a hardcore Mass Effect Andromeda fan, in which case, I apologize. And before we end this off, I'd just like to bring up one tiny little thing. Just the other day, I posted a poll on how many of my viewers want to see Shepard return in some form. Not surprisingly, roughly 75% of you want to see some form of return, but not necessarily as the player character. Some of you would like Shepard to return as a form of advisor, maybe even taking Hackett's place as an admiral, while some of you just don't want to see Shepard at all. Now, looking at the results here, I'd say that the middle ground of these would be for the best, and that would definitely be the one where Shepard becomes sort of an advisor, that sort of hands over the torch to the next protagonist, or heck, maybe even writer. In any case, the majority of the fandom has grown very attached to Shepard, and if anything, I'm sure Bioware will find some way of honoring that attachment. How they will do that remains to be seen, however. So until then, we can just speculate and, theorize. Anyway, that's it for this video. But do let me know what the reasons are to why you are so attached to Shepard. Leave a comment down below. As always, have a great day, guys. MrHulthen, signing out.